Okay. First off, to start off, just wanted to take a minute and talk about Q Robinson. His father passed away this past week, and such a difficult thing to go through, the loss of a family member. I can't think of a young man that has handled that better personally and with his teammates. He's a great son and was very supportive for his family and spent time with them this week, and also did a tremendous job of doing the extra things that it takes to prepare for a game. Our condolences go out to him and his family, but just so proud of who he is as a young man, the leader he is for our team. Our teammates, his teammates really surrounded him well this week, and then he went out and played very well for the second week in a row. So certainly want to recognize him. Looking back on last week, our recap of South Florida, one of the things that I told the guys, I said, you're learning lessons and learning how to get better through success and wins. Not everybody gets to say that in college football right now, and so that's important. I thought from a defensive standpoint, I thought we showed up in some critical moments in the game, which was encouraging to see. Some younger players stepped up in those moments as well, and then I thought the leadership of our defense showed out on the sideline and then out on the field as well. We had 8 3-and-outs in the game, at 13 what we call game changers, which I've gone kind of over those things with you guys as well. From a situational down standpoint, I thought we were dominant in the game. We were, I think, 17 of 20 overall on 3rd and 4th downs. We were 3 of 4 in the red zone, holding them to field goals. Really disappointed in the 1 touchdown that we gave up. Thought we should have been better there, and given ourselves a chance to get another stop on 3rd down, and so we have to continue to improve. It's not okay to give up touchdowns in the red zone, even though we were able to win 3 out of the 4. No touchdowns again to begin and end each half. That's critical for starting fast as a defense and finishing well. I think in the 4th quarter right now, over 2 games, we're 35-3, which shows that our players are learning to finish. And then zero explosive passes given up, and that's really challenging for an offense like that goes fast. They take shots downfield and do a number of things to force you to get your cleats out of the ground and then capitalize on it in the passing game. Probably the most disappointing thing was we had a number of explosive runs that were given up. We had a couple misfits. We had 3 times we did not execute our pressure properly, so we had essentially missed patterns in the pressures that we bring, and we've got to be able to capitalize off those things. And then 2 missed tackles. So from a standpoint of, I thought we let the quarterback, when we call some of these pressures, the intent is to get the quarterback on the ground and make him uncomfortable. And I thought because we did not execute in that moment, we didn't take advantage of that, and thus they took advantage of it in the run game. So those are things that we've got to get cleaned up. Extremely disappointed in the lack of takeaways that we were not able to create. Their team did. They created 3 of them. We were -3 in the turnover margin, which is absolutely unacceptable by our defense. It has to be something that we focus on day in and day out. It's what we preach. It's who we are. It's what we believe in, and it did not show up in this game. And so something that we've got to continue to push and pressure to focus on getting that done on game day. So with that, moving on to next week, review of Wisconsin, first road game for us. I think it'll be a great test going up there into a really tremendous environment. They've got a great atmosphere there, beautiful campus, beautiful university. They've got their traditions in the 3rd quarter jump around. I think our guys got to lean into those things. I think they got to enjoy it and appreciate it and recognize some of the greatness of college football, and then go play the game at a really high level. I've always been impressed with Luke Fickell. I've had connections with him over the years. Years ago, when he was at Ohio State, he came down and visited us at Ole Miss, and kind of learned some of the things that we were doing defensively under my dad. Have kind of kept in touch with him over the years, and very impressed with his teams. I think his teams embody, who he is as an individual. Very tough, very demanding of his players, and you can see that there's a toughness and a physicality in the way that they are playing, and I think they're improving in that in year two from what we've seen so far. We're going to be facing a well-established offense. Phil Longo has had success at a number of stops, and has had tremendous quarterbacks that he has developed. Obviously, having another one in Tyler Van Dyke, who is developing in their system. You see him starting to lean in even from week 1 to week 2, and what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish. I think he has had great answers over the years. So very impressed by Phil and what he's done over the years. And I think year 2, you're starting to see some of the new wrinkles that they want to do offensively. I think they're effectively running the ball better than what they did a year ago. You can tell that they're schematically focused on that, and their players from a fundamental standpoint have improved in terms of the run game. So we'll have a good challenge for us. I think they've got some impressive skill, some guys that can win one-on-one matchups, and we'll have to do a great job of mixing zone and man coverage in order to minimize their effectiveness in the passing game. So with that, I'll take questions.
All right, thank you, Coach. Front right here. Let's go, Nick.
Yeah, you mentioned no explosive passing plays given up, but there were a few times where they just weren't able to connect, and some busting coverage that way, or just guys who got past their guys. What are some of the teaching points there to make sure that doesn't happen?
So there were 2 times where I thought that guys were down the field. One was they were going fast 3 plays in a row. You've seen it. Oklahoma State was probably the team that was most famous for it. Back before they would, when a guy would substitute, now we give the defense a chance to sub. Well, back in the day, we didn't used to do that. So teams would just run, the next wide receiver out and the next wide receiver out. And that's what they tried to do. We had a substitution issue there where we didn't feel like we had the time to be able to get somebody back out there. And so we put a young corner in a tough spot where he was kind of in limbo. He wasn't in press coverage, he wasn't in off coverage, and he just got ran by because his eyes were in a bad spot. So the other one was just a technique error where a guy released inside. We were denying the outside release. We forced him to release inside, which is probably the only reason they didn't connect on the ball. We went back and looked at this a long time ago. When you look at inside release fade balls, the ones that we force a receiver to release inside versus if he gets the outside release on you, the completion percentage is far less on an inside release. So that was probably the only thing that saved us. However, we put our eyes in the backfield when we did get beat back inside instead of staying on top shoulder. So those are things that young players have to learn. They have to get corrected moving forward, and so that's really going to be the key is, making sure that those young guys learn from those mistakes.
Go left side, Katie.
What's going to be the challenge of not having Justin Jefferson for the first half, and kind of what was your perspective on the play that he got rejected on?
Yeah, we obviously it's always disappointing, right, when you have a dynamic player that is not available for one half of the game. We looked at the play. I looked at it from about every angle that I could. I think we just got to tell the young man, keep playing. So it is what it is. We'll deal with it and get ourselves ready for him in the second half. So
Middle of the room, Emily Grace.
Coach, after having a chance to watch some film on Wisconsin along with USF, what do you foresee yourself spending the most time on with the defense this week?
I'm sorry, what was the first part of that question?
After watching film of Wisconsin USF.
Yeah, Wisconsin or USF? Oh, both. Gotcha. Okay. All right. I think from the USF game, some of the things that we talked about, just in terms of the run fits in particular, we got to get some of those things cleaned up. Really, it was just the explosive plays. They had a number of runs that I thought we played really well, but we've got to do that consistently when teams are going fast. That's really structurally and schematically, that's what USF is built to do. They're meant to try to get you on your heels so that you will misfit something or miss tackle and I thought they did that a couple of times against us. So we've got to continue to learn from that. Looking ahead to Wisconsin, I think, you know, this is a team that is taking great ownership of the physicality that they play with, their ability to run the football, the toughness that they have and carry. They're big people. I'll never forget years ago, I was at the University of Arkansas, and you know, we had a great team, went to an SEC championship, and ended up playing Wisconsin in a bowl game, you know, we were kind of the biggest team in the SEC and the biggest team, you know, week in and week out that we faced. And you look across the sideline and you thought, oh, they look like us. You know, I mean, they're big people, they're massive people. So, and so that's going to be a great challenge for us to be able to match that toughness and that physicality on their home turf. So excited for the challenge.
Let's go to Jack on the left side of the room.
Hey Coach, taking you back to week one for a second, we talked to Keon Sabb after the game, and he mentioned you used the phrase "Iwambe" with your defense. I'm just curious, you know, when did you start using that, and kind of what does it kind of represent for your group there?
Well, I am the Wommack boys. We are Marvel fans, so we love the Marvel movies. You know, and so in the movie Black Panther years ago when that came out, gosh, what was that, maybe 2015, 16, something like that. That movie came out, and you know, I'm always like, I guess I'm a nerd when it comes to some of those things, you know, so I was like, what does Ibambe mean? So I look it up, and it's actually I think it's an African Bantu language word that means hold fast the line. And so I thought, you know, what a fitting chant, right, for a red zone defense, right, to hold the line. And so we talk about that. Doesn't matter how they get down in the red zone, whether there's we've turned the ball over or whether they've gone on a 16-play drive and it's first and goal from the 5-yard line. Everyone has to Ibambe. We have to hold fast the line. We have to do our 1/11th to be able to hold the line in that situation. And I think that's something that our players have kind of leaned into over the years. And you know, we have been successful at a number of different places in the red zone, and I think we're taking steps in the right direction here as well.
Stay on the left side with Steven.
Coach, obviously he's incredibly athletic, but Jihad Campbell, just his mentality of, I'm going to make every play that I can.
Yeah.
What makes him special is that linebacker spot to make those plays?
Well, you know, Jihad is a very gifted athlete, but he plays the game the way it's supposed to be played from a linebacker position. He is relentless in his pursuit of the ball. He plays with an extremely high motor. He's got great juice and energy, and we always talk about effort and finish is 4 to 6 seconds from point A to point B with violent intentions when we get there, and he certainly embodies that. So very proud of the effort that he has played with. I think that's a direct tribute to him leading us in tackles through 2 games as much as anything.
Go back over to the right side, Matt.
What do you think Tim Keenan did well on Saturday?
Man, so impressed with Tim Keenan. I think fundamentally he is playing with great hand placement, great block recognition, physical up front. He is doing such a better job of disengaging and getting off of blocks from where he was in the spring and where he was a year ago. That was something we really challenged him to be able to create production for himself by finishing plays, right? And I think he has done a tremendous job in that regard. So very proud of the work that he's put in and glad to see that he's being rewarded for that work that he puts in practice every day.
Got time for a couple more questions. Go Chase on the left.
A couple of the stops that y'all got defensively on Saturday came off the turnovers, right? The second half kickoff, you get the missed field goal, you get the fumble on the goal line, you get a 3 and out right there. Is there more value defensively in getting a stop off a turnover, and is that an identity builder?
Yeah, I think defenses, you can look at it 2 different ways. You can look at it as, hey, there's such adversity and all the momentum is on their sideline, versus this is an opportunity for us to regain momentum for our football team, right? And so when you're coming on the field off of a turnover, what we call a sudden change situation, our players have to understand this is an opportunity as a defense to create momentum back for ourselves. The momentum is most certainly going to be on their sideline in that moment. You get offensive coordinators that are going to be a little more aggressive in that moment. They may open up the playbook in that situation, and so it's really critical, right, that you have great communication. you play with an effort that matches the you know, kind of the motivation that they have and the momentum that they have on that side of the ball. And I thought our players did a really tremendous job in those situations, in those moments of getting stops for the most part. We weren't consistent enough in it, but certainly a steps in the right direction.
All right, we're gonna finish up with Cody right in the middle.
Curious what you saw in Coach Hitchler that made you want to add it to the staff and coach the too.
Yeah. So Hitch and I had worked together before. Probably the best game day mind adjustment wise that I've been around. He sees things up in the box. Does a great job of being kind of my eyes and ears up there from a communication standpoint on game day. I've been around some really special defensive coaches over the years, and he's probably up there at the top of the list in terms of his ability to create value for as a defensive staff on game day. And so he is somebody I certainly lean on and rely on up there. My dad told me that years ago, if you're going to be up in the box, you better have somebody great on the field. If you're going to be on the field, you better have somebody great up in the box. And I think Hitch does a really tremendous job from that standpoint. You know, one of the ways that I think he creates value for his players is the way he coaches those guys to understand offensive recognition, how to recognize what is going to happen, play with anticipation. You know, we've talked about that before. Defense is inherently reactionary. We're trying to get our guys to play with anticipation. I think he does that as good as anybody. So very happy for him to be here with us, and excited to kind of be back in the foxhole with him again.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, thanks guys.